what's shaking, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Orange Bloods Texas Football Channel. I'm Geoff Ketchum. That's Anwar Richardson. And today we are the Men in Black. Do us a solid, like the video, subscribe to the channel. By all means, comment in the comments section. Do that notifications thing. There's so many things that you can do. And you should know that today's video brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, the best place to play fantasy sports, including best ball, daily drafts, pick 'em, you name it. Start drafting in minutes with a shot at big cash prizes. It's available on Android, iOS, on the web. Hey, get it hooked up. You're playing fantasy. Correct. Use your Orange Bloods discount. Use the promo code. Get into Underdog Fantasy and let them be your betting parlor, your game parlor, whatever it is that you want to call it. Mr. Richardson, a lot of days we show up. We do like 5,000 videos a week. No, a year, not a week. Sometimes it feels that way, right?
Sometimes it feels that way. We're coming up on a year of the channel, by the way.
I know. And sometimes it's like, hey, what do we talk about today? Today it's pretty obvious. You know, Texas football back for day 9 of spring football, which means day 10. Wow. So they're 2/3 of the way through spring workouts. And today was the one day of the week that Steve Sarkisian meets with the media. There's a lot to unpack about what was discussed. You sent me the audio file and I listened to it. And it was like one thing after another. You've got the current suspension of Jaylon Guilbeau, the true freshman defensive back. There's not a whole lot we can get into with that because the specifics of what's occurring are such that you know, we can't fully talk about something where we don't have all the details on. He talks about Moro Ojomo and the culture issues. There was quarterback discussion. Is it as obvious as we begin with the Moro Ojomo stuff? It is the thing that everybody has had a reaction to. Let me set the stage for those of you who are watching this video and maybe just don't even know the full background of what we'll be talking about with regard to Moro Ojomo and Steve Sarkisian and his comments on Tuesday today. So at the very beginning of training camp, maybe 3 weeks ago today, I'm trying to think, it was on a Tuesday when he met with the media after the first practice. Sarkisian was asked about his thoughts on the culture of his program.
And Sarkisian level buy-in. I asked him that about the level of buy-in that he had as on the basis, you know, of last year where he said he had the buy-in in spring, and then towards it at the end of the season started saying that he didn't.
Yes. And his answer was, I'm not the guy to answer that question. The people who need to answer that question are the players, and like that's a question you guys should ask them. Matter of fact, I'll try to find, I guess the exact quote doesn't really matter. That was the gist of what he said. So last Thursday, Texas puts Moro Ojomo, senior defensive lineman, 12-game starter a year ago. And generally, we did the Monday overreaction show yesterday, generally thought of as one of the best people in the entire program. So much so that I was like, I need a guy like that to be a friend in my life. Like, he's generally thought of as a shining beacon of what's right in terms of player personality, makeup, all that stuff inside the program. Moro Ojomo said, I'm frustrated. I'm a senior, and now I see that we don't have a program full of guys who are focused on getting to the NFL, focused on winning the most games. They're thinking about going out to 6th Street. They're thinking about girls. They're thinking about everything but necessarily getting to the league was the phrase that he used specifically, but like making this team better. Today, you asked Steve Sarkisian his thoughts on Moro Ojomo's thoughts, which Steve Sarkisian told us to go get. And it was an interesting response because I don't know. We joked yesterday, Ojomo ain't talking to the media again for a long time.
I said pro day.
You did say pro day.
I said pro day next April is what I said. Or May, whatever pro day would be. I'm sorry, not April, but like next March or so. Yeah.
I didn't think that Sarkisian would push back as strongly. Instead of saying Ojomo's right and there are things that we need to work on, and I think he outlined some of it, and like that's one of our big challenges. Like, we've got to get this thing all on the same page. Like, there's a million ways he could have gone with it. He basically shot the messenger and said, he shouldn't have talked about that to the media. You guys won't hear from him again in a long time. And that stuff should have stayed in-house, considering how popular it was and how so many people responded to his response to Ojomo's words with, good. It's good to see players acknowledging the problems and wanting to take it on. Sarkisian's response, interesting.
You know, Ketch, it's very rare. I don't say rare, but it's rare where I feel like I want to or need to defend a player, right? It usually I'm just kind of indifferent towards stuff, but I think I had to come out of, you know, character or whatever the norm would be, and whatever the word is I'm looking for. And I'm going to probably spend a lot of this defending Moro, a lot of this video defending him, because to your point, first we'll start off, he's a good guy, you know, very good guy. He's the type of guy when you speak to, you can tell he will be successful in whatever he chooses to do in life. Like, he's just that guy, well-rounded. And the basic genesis of what Moro was saying was like, I just want to win. Like, if we break it down as to what he was really breaking and talking about, he's like, man, ever since I've been here, you know, we want to, everyone talks about creating this culture of winning, but no one really wants to put in the work that's necessary. And then guys are out partying, they're chasing women, they're trying to get money, like they're trying to do all these other things instead of focusing on the main thing, which is winning. And that's the thing that he feels like since the moment he stepped on campus to now, that's the thing that's lacking. And for myself, I thought it was a breath of fresh air. For myself, and you and I talked about it, I thought it was kind of peeling back the curtain and understanding what it was. He didn't mention anybody specifically. He didn't say this particular group does this. This particular group is always at 6th Street doing this and that, and these guys get snuck in at the certain bars down there at 6th Street. He didn't say any of that. Just saying the culture thing, that's the problem, like right now. And then, of course, Sarkisian tells him that this should not have happened. You should sweep in front of your door before you start to sweep in front of others. The challenge that Moro faced, and where I feel bad for him, Moro apparently tried to solve these problems behind closed doors. He tried to have the conversations with guys. He tried to be that person that said, let's do A, B, and C in order for certain things to happen. And he still had like the frustration. It wasn't being received. So he mentions it as a matter of fact, by the way, just wasn't trying to kill anyone. It was just a matter of fact kind of statement. And then it's like, well, you shouldn't have said it. Well, he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. If he tries to do it behind closed doors, no one listens. If he mentions, hey, I've been trying to do it behind closed doors, no one's listening. They were like, you should shut up and not say anything. You know, maybe in some way when it's all said and done, Moro may have, you know, even though he may have set off a time bomb with Sarkisian and got Sarkisian mad and got into his doghouse and all those kind of things, but maybe in some ways he brings light to an issue that needed to be shined on.
On the day that Jaylon Guilbeau, the press conference starts with another young player being suspended for off-field activity. It goes to the heart. Like, I mentioned this earlier. Today felt like I was watching an episode of Vice where I'm watching people in politics who are in charge of things do and say things. And I wonder, how could that have happened? How could this be the way it actually is? The irony was so thick that everybody just kind of missed it. You know, I mean, I'm bewildered by it all, because if you'd asked me a week ago, name the 5 captains on this year's football team, I would think Jordan Whittington. I think Xavier Worthy's got a chance to be a captain as a sophomore. I think Bijan Robinson might be a guy that they know this is probably his last year, so maybe you slap the C on him. Maybe a guy like Christian Jones gets it right. He's an older lineman, Junior Angilau, like usually you get a lineman. And I thought about those guys on defense. And I thought, push comes to shove, if I had to pick one, I'm probably picking Moro Ojomo for the same reasons that led the university to handpick him as the guy to speak with the media in the first place. Like, I think that's one thing that needs to be like reiterated here. Moro Ojomo didn't walk himself out to the media and sit down and say, I got something I got to say.
Nah.
The school chose him as one of, how many guys spoke to the media last Thursday? Maybe 2 or 3?
2, maybe. I'm thinking. I don't. It's no more than 3, but it was. I think it was like 2. I think it was Junior Angilau and I think it was Moro were the 2 guys that spoke. I think that was.
They literally handpicked 85 guys. Out of 85 guys, they picked those 2. You know, that means, and they've picked other players too, right? But he's inside this pool of players that the school is like, he's our best representation of our program. And like you said, at Junior Angilau, right? I'm naming guys. The guys that they select for these deals are the type of guys that end up being captains in August and September.
Yes, it's not an open locker room situation. It's lit, to Ketchum's point. Yes. They just bring them down. You have no control over it,
and no one gets to request.
No request. It's just, these are the guys we feel like or can represent the university, but they also feel like these are the guys that are not going to rock the boat.
Correct, but there's a lot of irony in the guy that you think is the best representation of the program speaking his mind, and then you changing your mind about his qualifications of representing the university. I thought it was a little hard on Moro Ojomo. I thought he said something that I said yesterday, which was when I first heard Moro make the comments, and I said this, and it was like, this is not a reflection on who I think Moro Ojomo is, but this has happened for so long, and we've heard so many guys kind of bring stuff up that you a little bit roll your eyes, you set your watch by this constant talk of things that have to be changed. And Moro, I didn't think was necessarily good enough to be the guy to send that message. Yesterday, I specifically said, I wished it had been Xavier Worthy who had said it, because you almost need your best player to say it, because, and there's a variety of reasons for that. What I didn't expect was for Sarkisian to say, don't talk about family business to the media, and then to turn around and kind of throw Ojomo under the bus. Like, he could have just said, hey, I didn't really think that stuff was, in the best interest of us to talk about to the media. He and I will have a talk. We'll keep that between us. What's said in the family stays in the family. What he said is, what happens in the family stays in the family, except for this exception when I'm going to talk about Moro Ojomo and how he didn't live up to his responsibility. Well, Moro was talking about guys not living up to their responsibility. It just, for a brief moment, the curtain gets pulled back and you look inside. And I think people, we know what this is about. It's about recruiting. What Sark didn't want was Ojomo to say that and then have to have that turn around and have Texas A&M make a photocopy of those quotes and send them to recruits. And he doesn't want to have to answer for that. But that's a bit disingenuous and naive, because it's almost as if 5 and 7 didn't happen, and Monkeygate didn't happen, and player dissension a year ago didn't happen, and a player today being suspended didn't happen. Like, to get mad at the quotes and not at the actual things that happened, I don't know. Yesterday,
by the way, Ketch, that is the recruiting pitch. Come to Austin so you can hang on 6th Street, meet beautiful women, make money. Like, that's the pitch. That's literally the pitch. They literally take guys down to 6th Street who are recruits and tell them, look how awesome this place is. That's literally the recruiting pitch.
We talked about this yesterday, and a lot of people, as expected, Anwar, You can see it in the comments section of the video. I had some people mention it on Orange Bloods. They thought we were too harsh. They thought I was too harsh to point out that it's not just the players that have to do a better job in 2022 if this team is truly going to lift off. I think today is a perfect example of that. Steve Sarkisian is still a head coach trying to spread his wings and find his way in Austin. And you could see today that that is not as easy as pouring water on it and it just grows in the springtime. It's a complicated, layered, difficult little subject. And I think today we witnessed just how complicated it was. On one hand, you don't want things to be inside the family talked about to the media, but then you talk to the media about things inside the family. You did the same thing that Moro Ojomo did, quite frankly.
There's some irony to it. There's definitely some irony to that point.
I want to, you're right. I think this costs Moro Ojomo a chance to be captain this year.
And it's sad because it shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. Because here's the thing, Ketch. At the end of the day, where's the lie? Like, you get upset about what was said. What wasn't said was Moro is wrong.
Yeah.
Moro was incorrect in everything that he said. Moro has no idea what he's talking about. That wasn't said. What was said is, wish he didn't say that out in public. He should not have said that in public. But he didn't say he was wrong.
But he told the media to ask his players about it.
Yes.
I mean, look, I have high hopes for Sarkisian. And this, at the end of the day, it's a little thing we're talking about on a Tuesday that in a week from now will be forgotten between everybody except probably Sarkisian and Ojomo. But it's just another reflection of the job's not easy. The job's not easy. And when you speak in front of the media 20 times a year, and when people ask you about things that you don't want to talk about, it gets to be difficult. Sarkisian was asked a question today from Geoff. It was completely non-related, but it just goes to the point of every time he meets with the media, it's a bit tricky. Geoff asked him how many spots they had left, specifically in terms of adding guys through the portal.
Yes.
And Sarkisian gave a long answer to that question that didn't include how many spots they have left in the portal. Well, why wouldn't he just come out and say how many spots they have left in the portal? Because if they take more than one, they're going to have to tell a couple of guys or a guy, or depending on how many they would take, that they can't come in. It's uncomfortable. It's the grimy side of trying to build one of the best college football programs in America. Sometimes it gets a little muddy and tricky, and you don't want to. Sometimes coaches just need a fan base to eat the sausage without asking what's inside the sausage. And today it feels like a lot of, hey, what's in the sausage was asked. And, in general, coaches don't want to talk about it. And, I said it yesterday and I'll say it again. This program needs Sarkisian to be better than he was a year ago when, they went 5-7. It kind of is what it is. They lost as many games as they won the year before. And, I just think that ultimately coming out of this, it gets back to football. But it's just a reminder that there's work to be done in this program and that it's not seamless. Not everybody's on the same page and not everybody isn't completely in unison. And that's part of what they've got to figure out over the course of the next 5 months, because Anwar, if they can't, this is how talented football teams drift into the abyss of 8 wins, 7 wins, 5 wins. It is being able to be in unison and seamless and all on the same page that pushes teams to get beyond levels of mediocrity. And it is not being on the same page It's arguing with your team about the importance of showing up on time 10 weeks into the season that causes teams to go 5-7. And that is what we talked about yesterday. And it's kind of what we're talking about today. Last season was a bit of a mess from a culture standpoint.
Yeah. And
why we're asking about it now.
And the thing is, where they have to be careful is, it'd be very easy, to shoot the messenger. And it'd be very easy to just dogpile on Moro for what he said, but dismiss what he actually was saying, right? Yeah. So it's very easy to be like, oh, he shouldn't have said it, and shift the conversation, Ketch, into, guys, certain things that happen need to stay in-house. Guys, you shouldn't be talking about this. Next time you talk to the media, you need to say this and this. John, make sure you prep the guys so they don't say anything, da-da-da-da-da. And it's so easy.
John probably got his ass chewed on that one, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh. Probably. Probably. Yeah, I'm sure. And again, it's like John knew, right? Like yeah. He had any clue like that was going to go down. Like, I'm pretty sure if John
picked what he thought was the safest guy.
Correct. Like, if John had a DeLorean and he could go into the future and know what's going to be said, he would have said, like, all right, well, then how to go back to last Thursday. And I'll make sure this guy doesn't talk. So not like John Bianco knew what the hell was about to go down. But if they get too caught up in, he said this, he said that, and it's all about Moro's bad. Moro shouldn't do this. What about you, Moro? What are you doing? Da, 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 da. And we're ignoring what's going to happen, the other things, the underlying things, then it still becomes the cycle that he's talking about. It becomes a thing that you don't want out there, but it still becomes the cycle of, okay, yeah, Moro, yeah, whatever to him. Now let's go out and party. Let's go out and do our thing. Let's go out and forget about this type of stuff. And then, you need Ketch. The one thing.
Get over the fact that Guilbeau's suspension was announced today.
Correct. But Ketch, we did our video on Monday, the overreaction Monday. You remember the thing I told you, Ketch? I said, but one thing I've noticed in all the years that I've been here, I said, I just don't see guys mad at losing. And remember, I told you that? I was like, I don't see guys knocking over the Gatorade bottle. I don't see guys throwing helmets.
That's why the Charles Omenihu, Kansas thing is forever remembered, because it's just one time.
Correct. It was like the one time. And so this guy is saying, man, I want to win so bad. And they're like, man, yeah, you shouldn't have said that. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, I guess he's wrong. So on the Moro thing, I just want everyone to know he's a good guy. Like, I think his heart's in the right place. I think that what he was saying was coming from a good place. I don't think he was trying to attack anyone. I don't think he was trying to tear down his team. He loves University of Texas. Like, he loves this place. He loves it here. You know
how people came up with the I Stand with Sam shirts?
Uh-huh.
I kind of want to make an I Stand with Moro shirt.
I was going to do next week. I was actually thinking about ordering a free Moro shirt, actually, and I was going to have one made and just wear it for our videos. I know. I'm looking up. I'm going to get a free Moro shirt.
It's either great minds think alike, or mediocre minds think alike, or maybe terrible minds think alike. But you and I are on the same page.
Yeah, it's going to be free Moro.